Higgs Mohagan, Peter Englert, the particle of God, the man in the golden mask, the ghost, the stick. Welcome back to Road to Death Stranding, a series of short video essays that I'm putting out in anticipation of the release of Death Stranding 2 on the beach, where I analyze characters and lore in order to get a better understanding of the world of Death Stranding and just get overall excited for the release of the sequel. Last time I said I was going to be talking about Amelie and Bridget, but I realized as I was reading on them and doing my research that it made a lot more sense to tackle Higgs first. Also, one more quick note is the fact that I have avoided all pre-release footage and trailers and everything for the sequel, so if there's something dramatic revealed in those relating to these characters, I don't know it. Sorry, but I want to go into the sequel as blind as possible. So let's start talking about Higgs. When Higgs was young, very young, both his parents passed away, resulting in him not having any real memory of them. He was raised, though, by his uncle. Sadly, his uncle was an abusive man. He kept Higgs isolated to their shelter, never telling him that there's an outside world, convincing him that that small room was the entire world. Anytime Higgs tried to question this, his uncle would beat him. But his curiosity refused to go away. He would keep questioning things, if not directly, then indirectly, trying to find out if everything his uncle told him was true. Eventually he would find the truth. Messages sent to porters about supplies needed. He would confront his uncle with this, and his uncle would be forced to take him outside of the shelter, show him the world that was above, tell him about America and the Death Stranding, how people coming together brought about the end, and how it was better if they just stayed isolated. But Higgs didn't like this. He continued to question things, and continued to get in fights with his uncle. One fight escalated beyond all of the others. His uncle tried to beat him, he fought back, and in the end, he drove a knife into the man that raised him. The young Higgs was terrified. He didn't know what to do. He knew about necrotization, about BTs. He knew his uncle would become one. So, but forgive me. He knew his uncle would become a BT, but he just sat there staring at the body, hoping somebody would come and save him. Nobody did, and eventually, he knew what he had to do. He picked up his uncle's body and began to haul it away, trying to escape with it. But he wouldn't be fast enough. The body would necrotize, BTs would approach, a void out would occur, and it's in this time that Higgs would learn about his dooms. Dooms has similarities and differences across all people who have it. All people who have it gain some degree of ability to sense the presence of BTs, and many of them, they all have the ability to sense BTs and have horrific nightmares of the end times, and many of them develop further powers. Higgs had two unique powers. One was the fact that he was a patriot, able to come back from the dead after this event. The other was the ability to seemingly navigate around BTs better than anyone else, almost as if they weren't interested in him. He would take advantage of these powers. Now alone and needing some drive to stay alive, he would become a porter. And sadly, during this time, he would begin to realize something. His powers only worked so long as he remained within regular presence of the dead. Somehow, his powers were directly reliant on being close to those who pass away and begin necrotizing. And he would use his time as a porter. Hang on. No, fidget. No, get off my desk. No, sorry, my cat. My cat climbed up on my desk and was trying to walk on my keyboard. Sorry, now I'm sitting back down. Where was I? No, no, Fidget! Stop! There's wires there, don't get tangled. Sorry about that. I don't edit these videos because I think it leads to more, or script them because I think it leads to a more genuine video, but you know, you get silly moments like that. Anyway, he would go on to become a porter, delivering packages and helping people. But would discover that his powers relied on him remaining close to the dead. Luckily, being a porter, he would often find himself transporting dead bodies to incinerators, allowing his powers to stay active. During his time as a porter, he would meet an individual known as Coffin. Coffin led what was officially labeled as a terrorist group. See, Coffin previously worked for Fragile Express and Bridges, helping to make deliveries and rebuild America. But she would eventually learn the truth of the packages she was delivering. BBs, unborn children being sacrificed to lay the groundwork and build the chiral network. And she hated that. So she used the military training that she had been given by her parents to form a terrorist group and fight back and free as many BBs as they could. And Higgs and her connected. She would take him in, begin to raise him, train him, teaching him how to handle a gun, how to work with others, turning him into one of her terrorists. His abilities were unbelievably helpful to their group. His ability to sense BTs allowed the Coffin organization to slip in and out of BT-dense zones and use it as a form of guerrilla warfare, take BBs, shut down bridges, stop the advancement of their wicked research. Eventually they would grow bold, attack a facility dedicated to the manufacturing of BBs and still mothers. They would successfully claim this facility, but their success was short-lived. The UCA wanted to cover up what they've done, bombed the facility, and blamed the terrorists for this. Many of them died, and those who didn't would quickly begin to give in to chiralium poisoning from the BTs in the area. Coffin would leave a final message to Higgs, telling him to go out west, to connect people, to bring the disparate shelters into a network that would be prepared to fight the UCA when they came. And so, Higgs went back to his life as a porter, and he would find a genuine joy in this, in the connecting of people, the ability to communicate with others and, you know, be a force of good in their life. But one day, when a fellow porter died alone in the mountains, and Higgs was there, unable to help him, watching him necrotize and become a BT, his faith in humanity began to waver again. Thinking of all he'd gone through, of the abuse from his uncle, of the horrible actions of the UCA, he just didn't know what the point of any of it was. We were all gonna die anyway. During this time, he also found a book, Wisdom of the Egyptians. It was about Egyptian culture and religion and their views on death, and he felt that this was an enlightening text, as if the Egyptians understood the beach and the afterlife more than us, and that maybe there were people who were better than others, who were meant to drive the life and death of humanity, that there were pharaohs, that there were gods, and that maybe those with dooms like him were like that. During this time, he would then also meet Fragile. He would sign on to join Fragile Express. Working with them, he was amazed by Fragile's abilities. He had never seen anybody else with dooms, let alone dooms so great it allowed them to teleport. He looked up to her, the same way he had looked up to Coffin, the same way he had looked up to Fragile's mother. But he was a man on an edge, a man on a cliff. It would only take one push to drive him over that edge, and that push came from the 1st Expeditionary Force. There were already terrorist groups and bandits and chiralium-maddened people all over America. Mules and disparate terrorist groups, but they were separated, ununified, just causing minor problems wherever they could. But when Higgs met Amelie, he was given a vision, a truth. And Amelie found her tool, her stick. Amelie, being the extinction entity, was able to enhance Higgs's powers and give him greater visions of the apocalypse, show him that the world was doomed, that we were all gonna die anyway. And that's when she presented her plan. If we were all gonna die anyway, why not get it over with? Why not just end it all now? She recruited Higgs to be her stick. Enhanced his dooms beyond anybody else's, giving him the ability to summon BTs, to create tar lakes, to teleport, to be above everybody else, to be like a god, to be the particle of God. They would arrange a plan. Higgs would organize the terrorists, build a grand unified organization, the Homo Demons, and they would feign kidnapping Amelie, capturing her and holding her on the west coast in order to force the hand of the UCA to send packages across the country and finish the chiral network faster without looking too heavily into what they were doing. She would also send Higgs to kill the second expeditionary group, destroy them in a void out unlike any other void out, destroying an entire city. And in that time, along with those people, was Sam. Carefully arranged packages to move him right to where he needed to be, in the site of that void out, so that he could then be forced to walk back to the capital, to talk to Bridget, and be recruited to be the sole member of the 2nd Expeditionary Force. This is where the story of Death Stranding begins, and we of course bump into Higgs numerous times. He attacks Sam, he tries to, play the role of the big bad villain. This is all just a show, though. His job is to just give Sam a reason to go west, to make Sam want to save Amelie. But he would resent this role to a degree. Higgs wasn't a tool. Higgs was the particle of God. Sam wasn't supposed to be the one to end the world. Higgs was the one to end the world. He was the stick, Sam was the rope, and he would prove his philosophy right. In a lot of ways, like many of Kojima's characters, he's an individual driven by memes. That is, memes in the classic sense. Ideology. He's a man of ideology. To quickly explain, a meme in the original sense is the concept that ideas propagate like living creatures, with survival of the fittest, and unfitting ideologies and philosophies will eventually fall out of favor, while those that can actually perpetuate humanity will maintain a consistency and importance, and become part of our cultural zeitgeist. And in a lot of ways, Sam and Higgs represent opposing memes. Again, the stick and the rope. Unification versus separation. And life versus death. Nihilism versus optimism. At the beginning of his journey, Sam is a lot like Higgs. Somebody who wants to isolate. Somebody who doesn't see the point in connecting. Somebody who thinks we're better off alone. But it's by fighting Higgs, by seeing the most extreme example of his mentality, that Sam can grow. In every sense of the word, Higgs is there to be a foil, to be an antagonist, to be a driving force. He's framed as the bad guy that kidnaps Amelie. He is Peter Englert, giving you some of the hardest deliveries to carry pizza across the map just to be a nuisance. And that really is what he is through the whole story. He's a nuisance. He sends BTs after you. He tries to kill you and your friends. He creates a giant tar lake across the country, separating the west coast to make it harder for you to travel out there. He is an obstacle incarnate. His pure purpose from the moment he met Amelie was to be an antagonist, to be the villain. And in the end, it all comes to a head. During his time as a terrorist, he did many awful things, but one of the ones that we see the most direct result of is what he did to Fragile. He gave her a bomb. One that was going to detonate just outside of Middle Knot City. And he gave Fragile two options. She could jump, teleport away and save herself, but let Middle Knot City die. Or she could take the bomb and run for the Crater Lake and throw the bomb there to save the people. But he stripped her first. If she wanted to save the people, she would need to sacrifice her body. In his mind, the choice is obvious. She would teleport away, proving his point. Proving that we're only there for ourselves, but she didn't. She sacrificed her youth, her body, to save Middle Knot City. Something he found foolish, and something that would come back to bite him. Fragile would want to get revenge on him, and she viewed Sam as her best way to do this. The two of them worked together against a common foe, and eventually, Fragile and Sam would confront Higgs in the epic conclusion of their saga. Sam would give Fragile a gun, and Fragile would be given a choice. The choice to kill Higgs on the beach. See, while Higgs was a repatriate, this final confrontation didn't happen in our world, but on the other side, on the beach. And if a repatriate dies on the beach, they're dead for good. But Fragile was better than Higgs. She didn't kill him. She gave him the gun and gave him the choice. Life on the beach or death. And that's where we last saw him. Sorry, I just had a really bad hiccup in the video. My editor, my recording software fucked up. I don't know how much just got lost because of that. This is like my 12th attempt at recording this, so we're just gonna stick with that. So sorry if you see a cut in the footage. But yeah, left on the beach with a gun at his side. That is where we last saw Higgs. And this is where my theorizing of what Higgs will do in the sequel begins. Now, again, I've avoided all trailers and teaser information, but I would be shocked if Higgs didn't return, because, you know, the classic thing of, if we didn't see him die, then he didn't. That's just good writing. Higgs is probably still alive and on the beach, and I theorize that his followers are going to want to reach out to him, to connect to him, and somehow he is going to become the new extinction entity of sorts. From the other side, he's going to start bringing the beach to our world, and he's going to be the primary antagonist of the next game, becoming the god particle he wanted to be. And this is going to result in Fragile having to track down Sam, and, you know, the two of them working together to fight Higgs. That's at least my theory. I really don't think Amelie is going to play a major role in the next game. Or at the very least, if she does, it won't be till near the end. I do think Higgs is going to be the main antagonist. And now I just want to talk a little bit about the philosophy of Higgs, because, you know, I made fun of Higgs a lot in my playthrough, but, like, the writing of his character is very interesting, because he is the embodiment of nihilism. Of the, if we are gonna die, why not do it sooner? He's suicide incarnate in a lot of ways. He is one of the most vile villains you can see. Somebody who said, hey, we're all gonna die, so let's kill everyone. You know, he's like the fucking Joker. He's like... Yeah, he's like the embodiment of that philosophy of the people who think that we should stop having children because we're just bringing people into a world of suffering. He is a vile, vile person, but that is clearly with intent, and the saddest part is he's sympathetically a vile person. When you know his whole story, when you know what he dealt with, of course he grew to be resentful and hateful toward the world. Of course he just saw that there was no point in living. His life was hellish. And he then just became a tool of Amelie, who abused him further. He's almost a sad, tragic figure. But that's what he needs to be, because he needs to show us that anybody can become Higgs, that Sam could have been Higgs. If he was just a fucked up person being crazy and fucked up because he had chiralium poisoning, that would be one thing. But he is a showing how normal people can become monstrous in the wrong situation. But anyway, this has been Road to Death Stranding. End cards will be appearing in a moment, and tomorrow we'll be talking about Bridget and Amelie. Hope you've been enjoying, and ta-ta for now.